Okay, today we're starting dealing with the din of Sefirat HaOmer. I'd like to start with the English. I guess that's the best place to start. There's two basic psukim which have to be dealt with, which is the sugya menaches. First pasuk is in Vayikra, in Vayikra of Gimel. Starts with pasuk Yud and then goes on to pasuk Tes Vav. So it's in Parshas Emor. There the pasuk says, "Vaydaber el bnei Yisrael v'amata lehem ki savo el haaretz asher aninu nosein lechem uktzartem es ktsira." Vayisem es omer reishis ksirchem el hakohen. That's the first thing. There's a halacha that you're going to be kites in the ktsira, and you'll bring the omer reishis ksira el hakohen. What does he do? When does this happen? Mimachas HaShabbos and Ifenu HaKohen. And obviously, it's not clear what does Mimachas HaShabbos mean. This question, Tereshabo has it. The Machas HaShabbos means to say Tez Zayin Nissen. That's the pasuk. Then the pasuk continues in pasuk Tez Zayin. That after we say Usfartem Lachem, and you can't for yourselves that we learn should take Sfir L'Kol Echad Ve'echad Mimachras HaShabbos. From that same Machras HaShabbos equals from Tez Zayin Nissen. Machras HaShabbos. Miyayim HaViyachem Esayim Atnufa. They were talking about the same Machras HaShabbos, which was from the day of the bringing of the Omer Atnufa equals from Tez Zayin Nissen. Sheva Shabbos Hashimos Tiena. So we know so far that the Sfira is totally in the Yom Havas HaOmer. Whether it's totally in the Havas HaOmer or the Yom Havas HaOmer. Nafkamina, where the Sfir Bisman says the Raisho D'Rabbanan. The Maisel Halacha we pass in D'Rabbanan. It's totally in Yom Havas HaOmer and not in Havas HaOmer. So he gets Miyom Haviyachem HaOmer Atnu V'Sheva Shabbos Tzimustiyana. They must be 7 full weeks. Until the end, the day after the 7th week, then Tisbru Chamishim you will finally culminate coming to accounting of a 50th day, and then there's the halacha bringing the Shtei Lechem v'krafta mincha chadash shel Hashem, that the Shtei Lechem, which is on the korban of Shavuos. So this is the pasuk. So the pasuk here says is an idea of counting 7 full weeks. 7 full weeks, Mimachras HaShabbos from Tez Zayin Nissen from Yom HaViyachem Zayim Atnufa. Pasuk doesn't say when we start counting, whether we count during the day or we count at night. The pasuk doesn't say from when, after you bought the Yom HaTnufa. It says Yom HaTnufa. That allows it to be any time of that day. You wouldn't know when to count. As far as that's concerned, Tez Zayin Nissen is the day that the counting is supposed to start. That's the pasuk found over here in Emor. Then you have the pasuk in Re'eh. The pasuk in Re'eh is something else. There the pasuk is in Perek Tez Zayin Tes. After the parsha of the Moedas of the din of Pesach, it writes Shiva Shavuos Tisbalach. You should count 7 weeks, okay, which is the equivalent of Sheva Shabbos is Tmimas Tiena. Mehachel Chamesh Bakamer. When the scythe, when the reaping knife starts working with the growing stalks. In other words, when you start your reaping, you must do this when you start your reaping. It is then that you will must start to count the 7 weeks. So we already know that the timing of the Sfira starts from the time when you are supposed to be, when the harvest is supposed to start, rather the reaping is supposed to start. Now, when does the reaping start? Well, we know one thing for sure. We know that the idea of bringing the korban ha'omer is only after ktsartem es ksira. You first have to obviously harvest something. You have to do first a ksira, then you bring that ksira rishona. You bring a omer of it to the kohen, to the mizbeach. So kochet preceded it. That's what we know. When does it start? No, we know one thing. It obviously preceded it. Does it precede it from when? We don't know. But here we clearly see that is from the beginning of that harvest. Okay, so this seems to be the beginner. The Yom HaViyachem Omer Atnufa tells us the date. Machzor Shabbos means the date. It's the same date as the Machzor Shabbos of the Korban HaOmer, which Kabbalah b'Yadena Tezayin Nissen. So the pasuk here said that the sphere is supposed to be on Machzor Shabbos. And Yom HaVichas Emat Nufa. But what kicks it off? What's the catalyst? This is the Chayr found in this pasuk in Dvarim Tezayin Tes, where it says Mehechel Chamesh Bakama. You must count from when you start the harvest, when you start the reaping, which is the Chayr. That's Tachel is Poshi by Yamin. When you start reaping, that's when you start counting. That's what this pasuk is trying to tell you. As we know, we understand that the reaping is going to be obviously when is it going to be done? Well, we know it's 7 weeks, and we know the 7 weeks end with 7 weeks. So we understand the reaping is also a tezai, but we also know it before. But how much before? How much before on that day did they reap? So when did this exactly happen? So the Chazal say comes from the word since the pasuk in Emer says Sheva Shabbosos Tamimah, there'll be 7 full weeks. 7 full weeks, which means 7 full weeks means 7 periods of 7 full days. Each day starts from the Shkia. That means 7 full weeks starting from Shkia to Shkia. That's what it means to say. So basically the makkah of Sefirat HaOmer being at night because the Zman HaKtsira is at night. How do we know the Zman HaKtsira is at night? We learned it from the Sefira. Since the Sefira is 7 full weeks, obviously it starts from the Shkia. And since the pasuk says that the Mechayiv of the Sefira is the Ktsira, the Ktsira starts at the Shkia. Now the makkah that the Ktsira starts at the Shkia is from the fact that the Sefira is totally in it, and the Sefira has to have 7 full weeks. It's interesting because reality is if you do cut then, we obviously can't cut before because before it's Yom Tov. If you cut then, so then l'chayra, you're not going to be counting exactly from the Shkia because you're doing the Ktsira at the Shkia. That's the reality. You're not going to be counting at that point of time. You first have to Ktsira the Tetzah and the Chanami. Anyway, we know EF Shalatzamtsein B'dei Adam. There's no way, no one has a nuclear clock. They're not going to say exactly at the Shkia, no one's going to get there. That's a Klal and Gemara. B'dei Adam, EF Shalatzamtsein. It means to say roughly with the beginning of the night. Roughly the beginning of the night, taking into account that you had to do some kind of a Ktsira before. So immediately with the Ktsira, there was a halacha of what? Of Sefira. So just to put this together in perspective, it means to say the makkah of Din Sefira, the halach of Tmimais is telling us that the counting has to be 7 full weeks, starting from the Shkia, going further, and that's so we understand that the Sefira is from the Shkia, and we understand that the Sefira starts with Hachel Mesh Bakama Hachel Lispor. The starting of the Sefira depends on the starting of the Ksira. Al Kocha, the Ksira was at night. This is the makkah for this whole halach. Now, in light of this, I'd like to see a few Gemaras just to get the things together before we start looking into what the Rishonim say. So if you have your sheets, you have a Gemara, Menachos Daf Samach Vav Amud Aleph. And this is what the Gemara basically says. In Daf Samach Vav Amud the Gemara says in Menachos 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 16th line from the top going down. The line starts min chodosh. It says miyom haviachem tisperu. Yachol yikse v'yavi ve'emes sheyitzi yispor. What says when do you start counting? Talmud loma me'echel chemesh bakama techel yispor. You start counting when you start doing the reaping. Ima chel chemesh echel yispor. If we know that the counting starts when you start reaping. If that's the case, Yachol Yiksa V'Yispar, well, maybe if that's the case, we know that he has to cut and he has to count, but maybe the Omer he'll bring whenever he wants to Amud Omer. No, the pasuk says Miyom Aviachem. If Miyom Aviachem Yachol, the pasuk also said the sphere is from the Avah. So Al Kocha, the Avah and the Ksira are all in the same time, in the same day. Miyom Aviachem, Miyom Aviachem Yachol Yiksa V'Yispar V'Yavi B'Yayim. Talmud Leimer Sheva Shabbos is Trimas Tiena. Who says at night? Maybe it all happens during the day because the session is Miyayim. Maybe Yayim is Dafka Yayim and not Laila. Amos at the Mitzvah Sheva Shabbos is Trimas. When can you find a possibility of it being 7 full weeks which are counted Bisman shetamatz chelim leisme ba'erev. You start counting in the night, then you basically have a counted period. Now let's understand the word tmimus here. What does it mean? It means it must be a period of time which hypothetically you counted from the night. Okay, it doesn't. What does that mean to say? What do you say? When do you find a possibility of a group of 7 Shavasas Tmimus if you start counting at night? So one thing we know the Din of Tmimus says you have to start counting at least the first Sefirat at night. That's what the pasuk says. You have to first count the first 3. When are you going to have a group of 7 weeks? If you start counting at night, then you'll have the finishing counting of number 49 will also be at night. No, and then you finish that day, it'll be the end of the counted period. So what you have here so far is that the Din of Tmimus means to say you have to have a counted period, which we know the pasuk says has to be, you have to start at night. That's all we know. That's found in the pasuk. So we know that to make it into Sefer Shavasas Tmimus, we have to start a sphira, a counting of Sefer Shavasas Tmimus must start with counting at the beginning of the day. I repeat, at night. It should be at mamish the beginning of a night, but it's called night. Period. This makes it into Tmimus. This is the day of Tmimus. It doesn't mean to say, obviously, what happens if you counted the hour after the Shkia, so what happened to the time before? It wasn't Tmimus. What are you going to do? So it doesn't mean that you've actually counted. Since the din is to count it, if you take it into periods of time called night versus day. If the night is a counted night, that night is considered enough. So you see the Tmimus is there to define it as a counted period of time. If not, if the idea would be that you really have to count literally Tmimus, and we all should be counting mamish with the knack of shkia, Ev Shul Tzamtzem, good. So it's man Katsira, 1 stalk, which is enough for the enough. A Katsira's enough. That's the Machayv of the Yomer. Okay, that's when you should count. But how long does it take? 5 minutes. So shkia plus 5. What about the rest of it? It says that's not what it says. It's that it doesn't mean that. It means to say there's a period of time and we divide them night and day. As long as the night is a counted night, that's called Tmimus. Now, all we know so far is you have to start it one way and it should end somewhere. I know there's a din of Tmimus of every day to be counted. Hypothetically, you could definitely see a possibility that once you kicked off a period of time, you put bookend number 1. And then it ended. From that point of time, you had a period of time which was defined and ended with the last Sefira, or so to speak, or with the time that ended that point in time. You kicked off, you designated a point of time, you made it into a point of time which is Tmimus. You don't know more from this pasuk. Pasuk doesn't say that your counting makes it into anything. It does say one thing, that your counting of the first day makes it into a designated period of time. It's not as if your counting makes it into is it for itself, because we see, as I said before, no one has to count from the first period of the first minute of Shkia. But you're taking units of time and defining them. That's why you can count. And after Shana, after Shkia, you can count. You can count all night until Alisa Shachar. Make your adin. There's no suffix in that. So l'chayr, it's mevurah. That's not the mitzvah of counting makes it into Tmimus. I mean, the counting makes the time into a certain period of time, which is called counted. And once this is called a counted time, therefore now the 7 weeks which come from it are called Tmimus. I don't even know if I need to count every day to include that into counted time. For all I know from this Gemara and this pasuk, that as soon as I define a certain amount of time, there's 7 weeks going. The Raya G'dayla is you're counting the night of the 49th and you're not counting the day of the 49th. And you understand that that's the idea. Once the night has been designated, that takes it the rest of it also. Once you've designated the beginning, the night, that designates the day. What happens is that's a chayrei davar pashut. It's definitely that's a din pashut. No one's going to dream and say that's it's piece of a good. So that's the chayre they get. This is how you learn the chayre the sugis gemara. Now, in this concept, before we go further, I'd like to see a few more gemaras to get a few ideas in, and that is let's just look, if you don't mind, in the Mishnah that you have it in your pages in Menachos Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph. And there the Mishnah writes, in the middle of the page, you have the last 6 lines. The Mishnah says, Mitzvahs HaOmer, Lavai Min HaKama. The Mitzvahs HaOmer, mitzvah means say mitzvah, but not L'ikuva. Mitzvahs HaOmer, Lavai Min HaKama. You should take it from the stalks, which are still growing, which you are now harvesting, and that's what you bring the Korban HaOmer with. Mitzvahs HaOmer, Lavai Min HaKama. Loi Matzah. What happens if he didn't find? Yavi mina oimrim. He should bring from that which is already cut and bound together. That's what oimrim are. Obviously, you know that. Anybody learning Peya would know that. Okay, so you know mitzvahs mina oimrim. You bring from that which was already cut and already harvested together. You already bound it up. That's called oimrim. Mitzvah say love him in Allah. The mitzvah is to bring it from that which is very fresh, equals therefore it should be somewhere very close to Jerusalem. If you didn't find it, the din is yavim in a yavesh. You can bring it also from things which are dry. Okay? Which means to say it's far from Jerusalem. It took a while to get there. Right there. Mitzvah say liksar balayla. The mitzvah is to cut it at night. How do we know it's at night? Because of the idea that Hachacher Mishbakama, and it's totally in the Ksira. Obviously, the Ksira is at night. That's mitzvah. So, Niktsir Bayayim, what does Niktsir Bayayim mean? So, Pashas Niktsir Bayayim means it's that day of Miyam Aviyachim Semat Nufa. Just they didn't do it at night. Like Katsir Bayayim, the Laila. You have to bring a Korban Omer during the day in Tesai and Nisan. So, what do we do? Niktsir Bayayim is kosher. It's also kosher. So the Pasha, the Gemara is another. We know one thing. We see here the double shake. It's the Ksira, which was Shaloikim Mitzvasa, is not Me'akev, and it's kosher. Niktsir Bayayim is also kosher. But Daicha Esa Shabbos. Now here we go into an issue. It's Daicha Esa Shabbos. You do this Ksira. What does Daicha Esa Shabbos mean? If you look carefully, it can be. Does it mean the Hakrava? Does it mean the Ksira? We had here mitzvah lavai min hakama. It's talking about when the korban is being bought. Lavai min halach, what the korban is being bought. Then all of a sudden we have mitzvah liksar balayla, not what the korban. We're talking about the ksira. And now we have an idea of Deiches Shabbos seem to be going on both. Whatever it is, it's right next to the halachas of the ksira. It could be going on both the ksira and on the akrava. But definitely it's going to be very hard to believe it goes only on the akrava and not on the ksira. So that should have been found before the mitzvah liksir balayla. So when you read the Mishnah, the stum of the Mishnah is that what Deiches Shabbos is both the ksira and the akrava. At the most, definitely the ksira. The far-fetched way to say it would be Kim to say this is going specifically on the akrava and not on the ksira. I want to put this out now when I learn the Mishnah, that the Pshuta Mishnah is mashma that it's going on both. That seems to be a davar pasha. In light of this, let's go to the Gemara. The Gemara brings a brisa. In Daf Ayin, let's read Rashi for a moment. Rashi and Daf Ayin Aleph Amid Aleph in the third widened outline at the bottom. Mina Kama. So Rashi should take Sira Lishma. That the Katsira should be Lishma. Kidichsiv, as the Pasuk says, Me'achel, when you start Achermesh Bakama of the reaping. Now, how does that say that there's a din of Lishma? What does Rashi say? Minakama is adding Shidei Ksira Lishma. What's wrong with explaining the Mishnah Kipshutai? Minakama, literally that which was cut in the fresh cutting. The answer is because you understand the Oimrim was also cut. When was the Oimrim cut? It definitely wasn't cut before. If it was cut before, then l'chayra, if that's the case, how do you know that minakama means, so to speak, means lishma or not lishma? Minakama means you should be cutting it in its right time. What does Oimrim mean? If you cut it earlier. That would be really fantastic. You understood before you can cut it earlier and that you weren't sure you could cut it by Yom. You need a special drasha for by Yom. What do you have here? The Mishnah said again, the Mishnah started mitzvah lavin hakama le'matzah kamina Oimrim. What does that mean? When was it cut? Was it cut in the same night? or was it cut the day before, or in the morning of Tezayin? Well, by looking at the Mishnah, when the Mishnah ends, mitzvah liksar ba'alayla, nikzar b'yayim is kosher, the chmuchach, that's a separate halacha. It wasn't nikzar b'yayim, it wasn't nikzar Tezayin b'yayim, because that's a separate halacha. So what does this mean, min ha'omrim? When was it cut? Was it cut beforehand? Was there a tzad to say that you can cut before, during Chol HaMoed, and that would be kosher? Just you can't. But we need a special thing to tell us you can also cut Tes Zayin during the day. That's ludicrous. That's zicher ludicrous. So obviously that can't be. So obviously, when was this cut? When we say mitzvah kama, the answer is they were both cut in Leil Tes Zayin. That's what you have to say. If they're both cut in Leil Tes Zayin, so why is this called Omrim and this called Kama? If it was cut before or after, bravo. But we just pointed out that that's impossible. It can't be. The pasuk means, the Mishnah means to say that it was cut afterwards by Yom, because that's Viter in the Mishnah. That's our halacha, which comes 2 lines later. It can't possibly mean it was cut beforehand, because that would be ludicrous. Do we really think, obviously, you can cut before Yom Tov, but you can't cut on the day itself? Where's the marker for this? Why is this simple? Why is it a question of Omer or not Omer? You say mitzvah liksar b'tezayim like kotzer lefnech and yotza. That's not what it says. That's not the Lashon HaMishnah. So it's obvious that Rashi was bothered by this, and Rashi understood, no, Omer means it was cut during the night. So then what's called Kama and what's called Omer? Everything was cut when it was Kama. Then after, what's the nafkamina? The answer is very simple. The answer is quite simple. What is the Surah? How was this done? How did they do the Omer? If you don't have it in your, I'm going to read you a Mishnah. Mishnah says in Menachos, a minute. Here it is. Mishnah says as follows: how was this, the whole thing, how was this done? Okay, I'm going to cut it short. If you'll find a Mishnah in Daf Samach, it's not in the book the page that you have. It says Katsruv and the Snor Bekupais. And the same page you have with Samach Vav, you take that one. I was going to read you a bigger Mishnah, but this is enough. Katsruv and the Snor Bekupais. What did they do after they cut the Omer? They didn't tie them up with everything else. Katsruv and Snor Bekupais. They took whatever they were going to put aside for the corpse. They put it into boxes. Heviul Azor, they brought it to the Azora. They would singe it with fire. Kidei l'kayim b'mitzvahs kali, in order to be somewhat roasted. Divi Rabbi Meir. They first would hit it down. Kidei shelo yismaich, that it shouldn't be too pressed. Then they put it into another metal contraption. It had holes in it, and that would be roasted that way. So it was bought to kupais. They would somehow singe them, then they would put them in this metal contraption, another type of a box, which had a lot of holes in it, and they would then roast it again, and everything would be totally roasted. This is what they did with it. So we understand that the Minchas HaOmer, when they cut it, they didn't bake it into Omer, they put it into kupais. So what did they put into kupais versus that which they sheathed together? The answer is that which they did, they were designated for the Minchas HaOmer, they put into the kupais. That which was not designated for the Minchas HaOmer, that was not put into kupais, that was ready tied together in Omer. And that's what the Mishnah is saying. That's what Rashi is saying. Omer, kupais, ksir Omer means a ksir which is designated for the Omer. That which was put in the kupais was designated for the Omer. That which basically there's nothing to put in the kupais anymore. There's everything's already been tied up. So what do? Then we take away from the Omer and we put it into the kupa. That's what it means. Omer as opposed to something which originally goes straight to the kupa. That's the pshat in Rashi. So Rashi basically understands what's an nafkamina for lishma. Al kocha, the din of lishma is there. What does it mean? You when you cut it, you add a kavanah to put it in the kupas. That's how Rashi understands it. Now, where did you see that in the pasuk ma'achal chemish bakama? The teretz is that's not what Rashi is saying. The pasuk ma'achal chemish bakama is only telling us one halacha, that the mitzvah is lavim min akama, from that which you originally harvest, which is whatever you're going to do that night, you're originally going to harvest it. Ma'achal chemish bakama, that's what you should be taking it, that from the Omer comes from where you started, you're reaping. Good. But now where did you put it? So that's where he makes enough community. If you put it directly in the kupos, it means to say that the katsir was the shma. That's called, so we use the word minakama, we mean to say something which you were so the shma, therefore it went directly into the kupos. Mashenkin, if you didn't do it, you weren't katsir to the shem korban, so you didn't put it into the kupos, you put it together in the Omer. And that's the pshat in the Mishnah. So I just want to clarify that. It's very important to understand words here. So kama means to say, cut on the night of Tez Zayin, lishma. Omer means to say in this Mishnah, cut on Leil Tez Zayin, but shaloi lishma. That's a very big nafkamin. Why do I say that's a very big nafkamin? That's the lashon according to Rashi. Again, min hakomesh teksir lishma, kidichsiv pechel chemesh bakama. Again, the pasuk Achol Cheresh Bakama is not a mucker anywhere in Babli, Yerushalmi, or Sifri to say there's a din of the Shema. There's no such drasha from that pasuk. That pasuk only teaches us that there's a din of Bakama. Rashi actually quotes this pasuk in Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, which we will see shortly, saying this is the mucker of din Kama, without describing the din of the Shema. The answer is because he's juxtaposing it to Omer. In this Mishnah, he has to explain what does kama mean. Everything is bakama. It says kama means that which went directly to the kupas, as opposed to something which is an oimim. What went to the kupas? It was nikta lishma. So the pasuk doesn't tell him mishma. The pshat is the din of the Mishnah tells me there's a din of ksira lishma. Now, in fact, you're juxtaposing ksira to oimim, kama to oimim. You're telling me that kama means it was nikta lishma. How do I know to say this? Because since it says Machel Chemesh Bakama, then you should bring it from the Kama. What does it mean? Everything's from the Kama. The teretz is something which is Nixer Lishma from the Kama. Okay, that's the getter of the Dvarim here, which is very important. Now go to the Gemara Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, where there we have the Brisa, which justifies all these dinim found in the Mishnah. There the Brisa says, Ayin Beis Amud Aleph, one, two, three, four, five, sixth line. Mitzvah HaOmer lahavi min hakama. This is quoting the Mishnah. Rashi again on the spot, if you don't mind. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth line, which is thinned out from the top going down. Min hakama dichsiv chamesh bakama. Exactly. It doesn't add the word lishma here at this stage. Mitzvah love min hakama, because that's all he's quoting from the Mishnah. Rashi's not explaining that part of the Mishnah. That doesn't demand to explain lishma. What demands to add the word lishma is when it says in the Mishnah, leimatzo yavi min ha'omer. That's not quoted here. I'm just giving you a decent read. So the Gemara mitzvah ha'omer l'toner rabbanu. We learned a brayso. This is a brayso in Sifri. The emphasis in Teres Kainim, excuse me, in Sifra. But the truth of the matter is, in Teres Kainim, there's slightly different gears there, and it's much shorter. But let's read this brayso here. Toner rabbanu. V'im takiv michas bikur. Where is this pasuk? So if you have it at the side, you can see it. The pasuk is in Vayikra Gimel Yudalit, and there the pasuk says, "V'im takiv minchas bikurim laHashem." If means when. Rashi points out sometimes im means not if but when. So it says, "V'im," when you will be makiv a minchas bikurim laHashem aviv. Got to be fresh wheat, kolui, roasted ba'esh, gerish, caramel, describing different types of how soft it's supposed to be, etc. Takiv is minchas bikurecha. So this is a pasuk describing what you're supposed to be bringing as the minchas HaOmer, and it describes im takiv minchas bikurim, etc. Takiv bikurecha. So something is superfluous here. Why would you have to repeat the im takiv bikurecha? This is clearly superfluous. It's a repetition within one sentence to start in when you will bring this meal offering. This is how you should bring your meal offering. This is not the way the Torah writes. It's a repetition. So the Bryce asked the question, what do we need both for? This is the Bryce going back to the Lashon HaGemara, Tanu Rabbani, Im Takim Mikas Bikurim, Ma Talmud Leimer. Why does it have to start saying Im Takim Mikas Bikurim? You're ending it anyway with the pasuk V'Takim V'Torecha. So the Gemara, Lefi Shemitzvahs HaOmer La'avi Min HaKama. The mitzvah HaOmer is to bring from the Kama, which was explained before, from the pasuk Echel Cheresh B'Kama. That meant what? That meant Ksira Lishma, putting it into the kupas. He didn't find any more because he came, everything was already cut and tied up. Yavi min ha'imrim, he must bring from that which was harvested that night. But it was min ha'imrim, as I'm going with Rashi, as we learned the Rashi 9 Aleph on the base. Talmud Leimar Takriv. Rashi. Nothing. Okay, so the added takiv means to say what? If the get is like a takiv kolshu, you're makiv afal pk. Okay, you got to do it in any way possible. At least as far as the halacha of the korban is concerned, the korban is kosher even without the ksirikim mitzvah. That's what it means, even without the lishma. Davar acher takriv. Another possibility of using the as superfluous takriv. The mitzvah lovim in Allah. So it's Rashi the Chsiv Carmel. He didn't find min Allah. Everything was ready. It was already custard. It was already hard already. Yavi min yavesh. You can bring even min yavesh. Talmud Leimer takriv. In other, the added takiv, we say we're not makbid on the pratim. So far, we have everything is lemitzvah, but this is only lemitzvah, not liikuva. Davar acher, takiv. Why do we need the takiv? The fish and mitzvah say likser b'alayla, which, as we explained, it means to say the mitzvah is likser b'alayla. Minaim shenikser b'yom. Whatever you cut it when, and not leil tezayim b'nissen, but on yom tezayim b'nissen. So now it says. There's a girsir Talmud Leimer Takriv, which makes no sense. Because then what's the next words? V'daiches HaShabbos. If you read the text carefully, obviously the parentheses here are to tell you this is not what it should be. It's not in the right place, which makes a lot of sense. Because if you read carefully, She'im Nisur and Kosher, you're going to write Talmud Leimer Takriv. The next piece should say Minayin Shur Daiches Shabbos Talmud Leimer Takriv. So therefore, the Girsa Pshuta is, I think they write it down already here at the side. Talmud Shimim Niksa B'Yom Kosher V'Doiches HaShabbos, and this goes together. Talmud Leimer Takriv, Takriv Koshu, Takriv Mikomakim, Takriv Afilu B'Shabbos. So here they coupled it together, which is entering both the idea of Niksa B'Yom and the idea of Doiches HaShabbos. And what did we say? Talmud Leimer Takriv, Takriv Kol Shu Zot Rashi Vosmen Kol Shu Af Min HaOmrim. This goes back to say Af Min HaOmrim. Takriv Mikol Makayim. Go to Rashi Af Min HaRachik MiYerushalayim. Takriv Afilu B'Shabbos. Talmud Leimer Afilu B'Shabbos. Then we had Takriv Afilu B'Tumah. This is the lashon of the Bryce, and you got to ask yourself an interesting question. So what happened over here? We already had a drasha that we can makiv min ha'imrim because it said what? Because it said takriv. We did that in the beginning. What's this added thing again to repeat the idea of imrim? Remember, how did this brisa start? It started mitzvah ha'imrim lovim min ha'komim. Minaim she lotzim ha'kavi yav min ha'imrim tamul ha'imrim takriv. Hey, then at the bottom we have something else. The bottom we have Lefisha Mitzvasim Liksa B'Layla Menayim Sheniksa V'Yem Kosher V'Deiches HaShabbos Tam Lemer Takriv, and now we start explaining Takriv Kol Shu. So Rashi explains Af Min HaOmrim. That was already said before. Takriv Mikol Makayim Af Min HaRachik, which means therefore it's Yavesh, and Takriv Afilu B'Shabbos. So what you have here, l'chayra, it seems to be, this is actually not found in the primary Bryce in the Torah's training. It looks like a second Bryce or something like that. I'm trying to figure out the text in front of me. Because this is a repetition of the previous halachas. We already said before that din is love, mitzvah love min halach, nam sheyav min halach, min yavesh. Rochek means, therefore, it's going to be yavesh. So basically, you're repeating again that the word takiv is good for Omer, which we mentioned before. It's good for yavesh, as we mentioned before. And then we add afilu b'Shabbos. Because the takiv is not just to say one thing, it means takiv in any way possible. So that's what's happening here. According to that, where's the idea? So what does it mean? I thought we're looking for niksa b'yom. Where is the Rashi explaining? Where is the piece in this Rashi saying that niksa b'yom is kosher? If we're not geiros Talmud Lemer takriv in that parentheses, so the Talmud Lemer should have with it kosher mikol makayim b'afilu b'Shabbos. Should happen that also it means afilu b'yom. But Rashi says kosher af min ha'omer. And if we understood that Omer means to say shalei lishma, but leil tazayin, how do you know why you're not calling Omer that you're a dikshah b'yom? One of the two, man. What is Omer? Here you told me when we learned the Mishnah, it was very clear that Omer meant nikshah b'layla. Elamai was shalei lishma. But now you're using Omer as a pseudonym to say nikshah b'yom. What are we doing here? What does it mean? Are we saying that if you feel there's no logical difference between niksa b'layim and niksa b'layla, so you already learned it before? Why are you repeating this? The tense is, what are you saying? No, this whole Bryce is repetition. So now you're adding a new dimension to Omer. Not just niksa b'layla, shalei lishma, but also niksa b'yom. But if they're two separate halachas, how can you use the same term for it unless you're basically saying, no, this one includes the other? Now, how does one logically include the other? Therefore, it would seem to be that from Rashi, you're going to have to come to the conclusion that you're going to have the girsa of Talmud Lemer Takriv, which is put in the parentheses. And you're basically saying, Meniksa B'yem, the din of Takriv, and except that there's a din of Omer. And that's how it's got to be after you read. Menayish Meniksa B'yem kosher Talmud Lemer Takriv. Now, B'dayk is the Shabbos, Talmud Lemer Takriv. Takriv kosher, Takriv Mikomkom V'afilo b'Shabbos. And that's what's going on. According to that, there's two drushes. One is a takriv afilu Omer, and then there's a separate usage of the drush. It's a takriv afilu dikshah b'yom. That's the pashas uchach Rashi. So, in case if you wanted to verify a girsa, that's the way it seems to be. So, and I just want to sum this up. That's very important. I say this because there's all shtickle the buskarov, which since you're not learning menachos, so you're not privy to whatever it is. I just basically done what I've done. Just to point out that according to Rashi, it's very clear that as they say before we touch svaros, first we have to know what text am I dealing with. I mean, this whole idea is to understand das, tanoim, and amiroim, and I can't really say svaros before I know what exactly they said. So here it seems to be quite clear that according to Shittas Rashi, the girsa is the way it is in front of us. We have basically a given that a drasha of takriv, that even if it's cut, it has zayin at night, with shalei l'shma, it's also kosher. Now there's an added usage of the word takriv, even if it was cut during the day, it's also kosher. Now the question, that's what we know. Now here's an interesting question on the table. Is this a halach? It's kosher what? It's kosher for the chayre, for the korban. Well, that's true if we understand, but Deiches the Shabbos is also talking about the korban. But if we understand the Deiches Shabbos is talking about the Ksira, as we discussed, based on that Lashon of the Mishnah, if a Deiches Shabbos, and that's the case when we say Nikser by Yoim Kosher, it means to say what? It's not just the Pshat, what's kosher? The Ksira is kosher, Agoysa Yashikaya. There's no din in the Ksira, it's kosher for the Omer, that's what you mean. But there it says you're going to have to say the pshat is your time the mid whatever there's a din to cite them and Reish's ksira, that's called ksira too. It's a din to what the excite the chemish bakoma is also miskayim with yavesh and also with makamach and also with kamakam. It's not as if although we didn't do the ksira, which should be done. Afal pikein we can do the korban without it. No, we need the ksira, but the ksira is performed in a lechatchila oifen, and the ksira is performed in a b'diavad oifen. The ksira lechatchila is l'chayra at night, lach, kama, lishma, and all the nice, beautiful things. And the ksira is also miskayim b'diavad at night, with shalom lishma in the morning, yavesh, aimim, etc. This is l'chayra, the stomach of the Bryce and the Gemara. Okay, that's what we need, these two things. Now there's one more piece, and then we can finally go to our Sefirat HaOmer. According to all this, we have to ask ourselves the question. We know that Sefirat is totally in the Ksira. And here's the nafkamina. Is the Ksira, is this a lach of takav in the ksir that you're mekayim the ksir b'diavad also during the day? Is that what it means? If that's because you have a matzav, the zman ksira is the chatchila at the beginning of the day, which is the night, but b'diavad, the zman ksira goes all the way through the whole 24-hour period. And if Sefirat is totally in ksira, then the Sefirat could be b'diavad in the whole 24-hour period. If you understand, no, the Zman Ksira is only at night. But the halacha is that although you didn't fulfill the Ksira Kedin, the korban is kosher, but the Ksira you were never Mekayim if you didn't do it Kedin. But the korban is kosher. Well, my friends, the Sefirat is totally in Zman Ksira, not in the korban. And if the Ksira is dafka at night, if you didn't count at night, you weren't Yotze the mitzvah. It's not called Tmimis, to say the least. There would be the nafkamina. It wouldn't be called, you didn't do this, but Sefirat bismana. Here would be the nafkamina. Here the question stands very strongly again. I'm going to repeat again. This is the shaila on the table. On one hand, we see V'daycha Shabbos. V'daycha Shabbos, as we point out, definitely goes on the korban, but definitely also on the ksira, that we were medayik in the lashon of the Mishnah. So, l'chayr, according to that, the niktzah b'yayim is the same thing. It's halach in the ksira. This means to say the b'diavad, your yaitza, that din of ksira rishayna, the way it should be done, b'diavad also during the day. Equals man. This pasuk is telling that zman ksira. Takiv is telling that zman ksira is not just the laila; it's from the laila through the day, and that's the takiv koshu. The mitzvah lechatchila, it should be done from the beginning, but the zman, as much as the zman ksira, it goes all day. You're fulfilling it all day. If that's the case, I repeat again, so the Sefirat would have the same halacha. There would at least be a kiyum din of b'diavad of zman ksira b'diavad at that point of time. Mashenkin, if we understand that no, this all goes only on the akrava, so then you don't know this to be true. You don't know this to be true. What is the Allah? Then you have no right to say this. You can clearly say that enochanami no. You can clearly say that enochanami no. Ksira is only by Laila. I'm sorry, you didn't do it by Laila, that's not Zman Ksira, period. And therefore, Sefirat is totally by Laila. Doing it during the day, if it's not Zman Ksira, it's meaningless. Elamai, what the plan for Takif? Takif is a pasuk in the korban. The korban is kosher, all you didn't do Ksira Kedin. Big enough Kamina, what happens to our Sefirat during the day that people forget during the night? Is it a meaningful activity or not? And it all comes from understanding this Gemara. You probably all know a lot of Torahs and Chikiris, but this is where the story comes from. How to understand this mission, how to understand this Brisa. Lamaisa, this is a machlekes of Bavli and Yerushalmi. And if you recall, we already learned that Das Rambam is la halacha, that whenever the Yerushalmi explains the Mishnah Kipshutai, and the Bavli goes in somersaults, we read Mefurish Chuvas Ma'arik and Simon Kuf, that halacha we passing like the Yerushalmi. I need you to remember that. Before I will summarize this, before we read the sugya inside, the Das HaBavli is to say that V'daychet Shabbos goes only on the akrava and not on the ksira, because he understands the din of takiv is halacha in the korban. The Das Yerushalmi is Mefurish. Not that way. The Asher Shalmi is befurish that if you cut it during the day, it's your yaitz the mitzvah at least b'diavad, not in the chatchila, but you're also yaitz the mitzvah. It's called zman ksira b'diavad. Lamais it's a machlekes Babi Yerushalmi how to read this Mishnah. According to the Yerushalmi, the din of takiv is halacha, which is a pasuk which describes how do we define the zman of meichel cheresh b'kama? Is meichel cheresh b'kama only at night, or is it from the night? L'chatchila at night, going all the way to 24 hours. That's a Yerushalmi. The mitzvah balayla of the zman is the zman of all day. Therefore, if you forgot to count, you can count during the day, even with the bracha. No problem at all. Mashenkin, according to Babi, it's not a zman sfira at all. So there's no use of counting during the day. And then there's another question: what happens if you don't count one day? Do you do anything else further? We'll see that shortly. But this is the shorish of the halacha. This is where it comes from. Let's look at the sugyas and read them. Now, first of all, you know what? The easier one is first to see the Yerushalmi. So you have in your sheets a Yerushalmi, 2 pages of Yerushalmi. In Mesechtas Megillah, Perik Beis Halacha Zayin. It has a page 42 on it. Same Moshe on the right, the Korban Eidah on the left. The Mishnah says in Megillah, this is towards the end of the second period, Kol ha'layla kosher l'ksiras ha'omer. Kol ha'layla is kosher l'ksiras ha'omer. And also l'hekter chalavim ve'ivorim. Zeh klal, davar shemitzvasa b'yayim, kosher kol ha'yayim. V'shemitzvasa b'layla, kosher kol ha'layla. The mashmos pshuta is l'chayra, that the mitzvah is only at night. That's the stomach of the Mishnah. It's a mitzvah b'layla, so it's kosher kol ha'layla. Now the problem is, what do you do at Niktzah B'yayim? When you read the Mishnah, it sounds like, well, Niktzah B'yayim, you weren't mekayim the mitzvah of tzira, but it's still kosher for the korban. That's what it sounds like. Well, look at the Gemara. The Gemara says, Kol ha'layla kosher l'sfiras ha'omer. Kol ha'layla is kosher l'sfiras ha'omer. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Reb Elazar Reb Shimon he. Reb Elazar Reb Shimon Amar meichel l'ksor techel l'spor. He brings the pasuk when you start harvesting, reaping. That's when you start counting. This is what he brings. Now flip the page. I'm going to skip a bit if you don't mind. And here it starts in the second line. Haya makiv minchas ha'omer. We're on page Chaf Beis in the Yerushalmi Tfus Vilna. Second line. Haya makiv minchas ha'omer. V'nitmas b'yadai, and it was tamei. It became tamei when I was by the mizbeach. It was going to do the tnufa, and it was become tamei. He tells them, they bring him another one. They bring him something which obviously was not written in Medla Shema or anything like that. He had one thing in the kupas, he bring another one. V'im lav, and if there is nothing else, have a pikach v'shtoik. Be smart, keep your mouth shut. Why? Because the mice, it's a korban tzibur, and the korban tzibur is mukav betuma. You can bring it even betuma. So it's nice to find something Torah. You don't find one. Shut up. Divrei Rebbe, Rabbanan. In the Bible, it's Rebbe. Here, I think it's Rabbanan. We'll see in a minute. Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon, but Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon says, "La'olam omer have a pikach v'shtoik." We always tell them that. There's no option of bringing something else. Why not? She'ein omer shenikta shalei lemitzvah kosher. It's the first. There's an omer which was not cut for its mitzvah. It was not cut l'shma. Here you have the source of that reading that we mentioned in Rashi. Shalei nikta lemitzvah kosher. And since the other stuff was not nikta lemitzvah, it's not kosher anyway. So there's no bravery. You have to do it betuma. So kumtas, what does this mean? So we see that some machlekes Rebbe and Rabbana and Rebbe Elazar Shimon whether omer shenikta shalei lishma is kosher or not kosher. Sober Rebbe Elazar Shimon shein omer bamin ha'aliyah. He believes it does not come from aliyah. It's an interesting language. This is found also in the Brisa in terms. Aliyah means the storage. Now, min aliyah could hypothetically mean both something which was cut that night, or hypothetically something which was cut years, days before and found in storage. Aliyah is really not something which is in the field; it's already in the silo. So aliyah could mean multiple things. Okay, I want you to understand there's a difference. So that gives in front of us here. We'll see in a minute, but I want to take that into account. Zokti Gemara, Omer Rab Omer Rav, Asid Rab Elazar Rab Shimon, Kishitas Rab Akiva Rabbi Shel Aviv. It seems to be that the Shita Rab Elazar ben Shimon says that Omer Shenikzer Shalayla Mitzvasai is not kosher. Goes according to the Shita Rab Akiva, the Rebbe of his father Rab Shimon Bar Yochai. The Tanin and Tamon we learned in a brisa. It's also a Mishnah. Excuse me. Klal Omer Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva taught us that Klal, this is like Mishnah in Lazar the Mila in Shabbos. Kol Melacha she'efshel leilasis be'erev Shabbos, any Melacha, which you could do erev Shabbos. For example, if you have a bris on Shabbos, can you now sharpen the knife on Shabbos? Can you make the knife on Shabbos? It's a mitzvah meal, which is Deicha Shabbos, and Hechsher mitzvah should be Deicha Shabbos. That's Rebbe Elazar's Shita. The Hechsher mitzvah is Deicha Shabbos, and we even make the fire to melt the ore to get a knife on for a meal on Shabbos. That's Rebbe Elazar's Shita. Rebbe Akiva argues. Rebbe Akiva says that no, Hechsher mitzvah, any Hechsher mitzvah, she'efsher lases me'erev Shabbos, you could have done it beforehand. It's not Deicha Shabbos. Anything which is needed for the mitzvah, if you can't do it beforehand, it's Deicha Shabbos too. If that's what he says, call Gel Amr Bekiva Kamalacha she'efsher lases me'erev Shabbos, ain't it Deicha Shabbos. But call Malacha she'efsher lases me'erev Shabbos, if you say Malacha that you couldn't do before Erev Shabbos, the din is Deicha Shabbos. So what do we see here? We see, what are we telling you here? What is Ksira? Ksira is the Hechsher mitzvah of the Havah. On the Havah, we have a pasuk Yistaycha Shabbos. So if you can only do the Ksira at Laila, and Laila happens to be Shabbos, then it's Yistaycha Shabbos. But if hypothetically you could do Ksira beforehand, and it's also kosher, well, then it shouldn't be Yistaycha Shabbos. And the Yerushalmi takes for granted the Ksira Shalekim Mitzvasa. They don't differentiate between Kotzer by Yom of Tezayin or Kotzer beforehand during Chol HaMoed. Yerushalmi takes for granted that if once you do not need Ksira Mitzvasa, there's no difference for the carbon. There's no difference between Ksira before the date or Ksira during the date, and so to speak, Shalai Lishma. And therefore, Rebbe Elazar Shimon, which tells us this halacha, how does Rebbe Elazar Shimon know that Kotzer Shleikim Mitzvasa is not kosher? Because the Mishnah says it's Deicha Shabbos. And if it's Deicha Shabbos, al kocha, you couldn't do it before Shabbos. That means you couldn't cut the Omer before Tezayin B'Nissen. And if Tezayin B'Nissen is Shabbos, you could only cut it the night of Tezayin B'Nissen, Friday night. And if you can only cut, that means you can't cut it afterwards, Shabbos morning, and you can't cut it Friday or Thursday or Wednesday. So that's what Rebbe Elazar Shimon is saying. I argue with Rabbanan. Rabbanan obviously hold that what? That even though the Rabbanan hold that you can bring the Omer even from things which are Shalayla Mitzvasa, which means to say you can do it even Shalayla Shema, which means you can have even Omer which was cut on during the day. If you can cut during the day to Zion, the Gemara takes for granted you can also cut a week before. That's an interesting anocha. This is an anocha found both from the Bavli and the Yerushalmi. If Shalayla Mitzvasa is kosher, so you can do it also before and also after. And since we hold Deiches HaShabbos, so l'chayr you have a problem here. So how, according to Rebbe, do you hold this Deiches HaShabbos? L'chayr we see that Rebbe does not hold like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Rebbe hold that even Machshir and Mitzvah she'efshel asoysim mibayit yom are also Deiches Shabbos. This is a problem. So this is what the Gemara is going to deal with. Skip down a few lines, and look where it says, it's underlined there. It says here, Miksiris hayoim ma'at ovidlei. Something which is harvested during the day equals tezayin in the morning. Ma'at ovidlei. What do you look at it like? Kiksiris halayla, oy kibabin aliyah. What is it? And as he takes for granted, this is the question of the Yerushalmi. Granted, I understand that the ksira of done beforehand, before the night, that's definitely ksira sa'aliyah. That was cut before tezayin. But what about, is there a difference between cut beforehand or cut tezayin in the morning? Is aliyah equals something which was in storage already, was cut way time ago? That's not cut at night, that's cut when it's in the aliyah, it's already in the silo. What happens if you cut it in Tez Zayin in the morning? Is that like stuff that you cut before the Zman, or is it not? In Tema Kiksiris Halayla. Should you say it's like Ksiris Halayla? What does it mean it's like Ksiris Halayla? Let's understand what that means. It means to say it's a din of Zman Ksira, just not Lechatchila, but B'di'evet. Here's the first Yerushalmi. It's a first Yerushalmi. What did the Tut study? Do we say, is there a difference between cutting before Tezayin versus cutting Tezayin in the morning? The Zman mitzvah is Meichal Cherev Rakama, which you understood at Tezayin at night, Leil Tezayin. What's the din? Shaloike mitzvah in the Zman. Do we say it's this B'di'evet also mitzvah? Or do we say no? It's Shaloike mitzvah Kipshuta. This is the Shaila of the Yerushalmi. That group is the subject that we're talking about. That's the Bayah of the Yerushalmi. Is Yoim Tezayin also called Zman Ksira, but B'di'evet? And your Mekai Ksira B'zmana B'di'evet? Or is Yoim Tezayin called Shaloi B'zmana? It's the equivalent of cutting it before Tezayin. This is the subject of the Yerushalmi. Again, the Lashon is Miksiras HaYoim. Ma'at Ovidlei. What do you do with Ksiras HaYoim? Kiksiras HaLayla. Is it like Ksiras HaLayla? Or it's like Bamin Aliyah. It came from the storage house. So the Yerushalmi, in Tema Kiksiras HaLayla, if you think it's like Ksiras HaLayla, equal to cutting it Tezayin is different from cutting it before Tezayin. Ashkech Omar Chada Palge ben Reb Lezer Reb Shimon ben Rabbanan. Thus we now will say there's one machlek between Reb Shimon and Reb Lezer Reb Shimon Rabbanan. What is it? Rabbanan Amr Ksiras HaYoim Kik Ksiras HaLayla. That's the das of Rebbe. The Ksiras HaYoim Kik Ksiras HaLayla, and that's why it's Teicha Shabbos. Reb Lezer Reb Shimon Aimer ain't Ksiras HaYoim Kik Ksiras HaLayla. It's not like Ksiras HaLayla, and therefore what? It's like cutting beforehand. So it's like a mitzvah she'efshar lasis mibayid yoim. It's not Teicha Shabbos. So what does the Yerushalmi want to do? It's a very interesting Yerushalmi. It puts a chakira and says, "L'chayr, this is the machlekes of this Tanoi. Machlekes Rebbe and Rebbe Shimon. They both hold that davar she'efshar lasis, a hechsher mitzvah she'efshar lasis mibayid yoim is not Teicha Shabbos. The question is, ksira beforehand is zichur shalei b'zmana. You're not mekayim the mitzvah ksira. It's only a hechsher in the korban. Masha Enkein, Sira Bayoim, that drush of Takrib, is that saying not just it's a hechsher in the korban, it's saying it's a hechsher in the midst of Ksira. Here you have it. Do we say the drush of Takrib is just a hechsher in the korban, or explaining that the korban is the Ksira was Bizmana, Elamai Zmana B'di'evet? So he said this is the machlekes of Reb Lezer Reb Shimon and Rabbeinu HaKadosh. This is the Gemara. We can go further, but this would be enough at the moment. Okay, so this is the, we should see further, but I want to get to a point. This is Das HaYerushalmi. What is Das HaBavli? Das HaBavli, if you open the Gemara, going back in Menachos, Daf Ayin Beis, Amid Beis. So if you go, it's a whole shakla v'tai which really should be seen. That's the truth. But I'm going to get to this point. The Gemara has a problem because Rebbe L'chayr is a Talmud of Reb Lezer of Shimon B'Yochai and should hold like him. The Gemara says, "Ela kasava Rebbe Ksiras HaOmer lo Teicha Shabbos." He obviously holds that Ksiras HaOmer is not Teicha Shabbos. The Bavli doesn't dream and entertain a possibility that Takiv is telling me that there's an idea of Mikayim Ksira Bizmana B'di'evet. That doesn't exist. And if you hold the Ksiris is kosher by Yoim, which means to say even Shalokim Mitzvah, so it should be kosher even beforehand, and it shouldn't be Teicha Shabbos, because he holds like Reb Shimon, that what, like Rabbi Akiva, that the halach is that what the davar sheh efshar lasis me'erev Shabbos ain't Teicha Shabbos. So the Gemara says in the fifth line, in the fourth line, Elik Kasavar Rebbe, Ksiris HaOmer lo Teicha Shabbos. The Gemara says that can't be. But nan Chacham Omer Echad Shabbos Echad Chayil Mishalish Haya Ba the Laker Rebbe. Okay, let's go. The Lake Rebbe. Ubishabbos Yom Shabbos Zed the Lake Rebbe. Can't he bring sources that Deicha Shabbos and says it's not like Rebbe? Niksa b'yayim v'deichas the Shabbos. Man shamet leida amar niksa b'yayim kosher Rebbe. Uktani v'deichas the Shabbos. So Gemara says, my love, ksira loy la krava. Ava ksira loy. And this is the maskana of Gemara. The Gemara's maskana is the Bavli wants to say that ain't no chinami. Aliba the Rebbe, there's no difference between cutting the Omer on Tes Zayin in the morning or cutting it a week earlier. You're both not mekayim the mitzvah, and both it's kosher for the korban. And because of that, you can't do the ksira on Shabbos because it's something you can do before Shabbos. Therefore, it's not Deicha Shabbos. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. The Mishnah says Deicha the Shabbos, so the Bavli is Deicha. Deicha the Shabbos does not mean the ksira. It means only the akrab. So here we have a major machlokes. We have a Mishnah Kipshuta, which the Mishnah sounds clearly that Deicha the Shabbos is both the ksira and the akrava, as I explained. We have the Yerushalmi, which deals with this and reconciles it by saying that there's a difference between cutting before Tes Zayin Nisan and cutting Tes Zayin Nisan during the day. Before Tes Zayin Nisan, you're not fulfilling it all the idea of ksira, the mitzvah, and therefore it's the korban is kosher even without it. Very nice. But there's another halacha. What about cutting it Tes Zayin during the day? And here the Yerushalmi wants to say that very simply that according to Rebbe, then you're mekayim the mitzvah b'di'eved. And since you're mekayim the mitzvah b'di'eved, that type of mitzvah you could not do before Tes Zayin b'nisan. Therefore, the ksira is Deicha Shabbos, and the Yerushalmi explains it kipshutoi. The Mishnah is kipshutoi. The Bavli does not entertain the possibility at all. There's a concept of what? Of mekayim b'di'eved of zman ksira. And there's no difference between Zman Ksira, between cutting Tes Zayin Nisan in the morning versus cutting it Tes Vav Nisan or Yud Dalet Nisan. So that can't be. And Rebbe does agree that there's no such something you can do beforehand. It's not Deicha Shabbos. Therefore, we have to come and say that when the Mishnah says V'deicha the Shabbos, it's going on the Akrova and not on the Ksira, which, as we pointed out, is really rough. Then if that's the case, the V'deicha Shabbos should be written before it describes the dinim of the Ksira. That's a Deicha Gadol in the Mishnah, basically because of this. So this is the Nekudas HaMachlokes. Here's this. Now, obviously, you understand yourselves here that now we start looking at this. There seems to be a major machlokes as to whether there's such a concept of Zman Ksira b'di'eved during the day, nafkamina for Sfira during the day. Sfira during the day with a bracha. If this is the Zman, there's a optimum Zman, which is at night, but the Zman is during the whole day. The thing would apply also to the Sfira. Because when is Hachel Chermish Bakama? Hachel Chermish Bakama, what is that Zman? Lechatchila, it's from the beginning of the night, but it goes all the way through the day. That's the Zman. So, if you count during today, you may not be fulfilling Tmimas. If there is a din of Tmimas, we have to check that carefully. Many Rishonim don't think there's a din of Tmimas. Tmimas is only an indicator where the Ikra mitzvah is at night. But if you understand what the Mechayiv of the mitzvah is, the Ksira, so if that's the case, if the Ksira b'di'eved is all day, you can make a bracha during the day. Masha'enkin, if we understand that's the Chay works with the Yerushalmi. How does the Rambam Paskin? The Rambam Paskin the first like the Yerushalmi. Rambam Paskins in Ichas Tvidim and Musafim, you have it in your sheets. Do you have it in your sheets? No, you don't have it in your sheets. I'm sorry. You don't have it in your sheets. I should have it. If I don't know, you do not have it in your sheets, so I'll have to bring it to you. No, you don't have it in your sheets. The Rambam Paskins in Tvidim and Musafim, Karbanis. In Perik Zayin, the halachas of Sefirat HaOmer are found in Tvidim and Musafim. No, excuse me, avoid. I got all mixed up. In Perik Zayin, Tvidim and Musafim, that's the halachas of Sefirat HaOmer. So the Rambam Paskins as follows: in halacha Vav till Yud, the Rambam Paskins. Mitzvah likotzer b'alayla b'leil shishasa bein b'chol bein b'Shabbos. That's the mitzvah. B'chol alayla kosher l'Sefirat HaOmer v'im katzur b'yom kosher. Mitzvah likotzer b'alayla, good. But chol alayla is kosher. That's even lechatchila. Okay. Katzur b'yom is also kosher. Mashma, it's kosher. Then it says, it doesn't say the pshat is, what does it mean? Mitzvah say love him in akama, like matzah yavim in ha'omer. Mitzvah say love him in alach, like matzah yavim in hayavish. He brings the boy Mishnah the brayso kipshuta. He doesn't mention anywhere that the halacha that the ksir is not there for Shabbos, for example. He brings the Mishnah kipshuta. He doesn't explain any difference between them. So I think the pasha, this to the Rambam is like it. Stomach the Mishnah, like the Yerushalmi. And then Baruch Hashem, I found this as a mitzvah that I found in Chuvas Chamtzvi. Simon Kuf Samach Zayin, he writes before us that they know Chanam with the Rambam Pasuk stomach like the Yerushalmi, and therefore he brings the Mishnah Kipshuta. He doesn't make differences. This goes on the Akrava, this goes on this. No, everything is Kipshuta. He learns the Mishnah Kipshuta, and that's how he paskins. Kumtais Ladina. If we go in Das Rambam, if we go in Das Yerushalmi, it comes out that they know Chanami. That Sefirat HaOmer by Yom, the Maisi should be able to make a bracha. The Chayre comes out according to Rambam. You didn't count at night during the day. You should be able to count it at night. You should be able to count even during the day. There's no difference between just like the Ksira is kosher kol alayla and also kosher bayayim. If that's the case, there's the Chayre, this man Sfira is also kosher kol alayla and kosher bayayim. At least b'di avid. The Maisa, we have a taste like that, but the pell is, where does the taste come from? The Chayre, it's against a Mefurisha Bavli, and this is the Chayre Rishavi. Where's the taste? The Taisus is as follows. Taisus is in Megillah. If you see that page in Megillah that you have in your sheets, Tav Chaf, Amid Beis, where it says, Kol halayla kosher l'Sefirat HaOmer. So if you look at the last Taisus on the page, now here he brings the famous Bahag, which we will have to go in to see whether this is or not the Bahag. What does Taisus raise? Omer Rabbeinu Tam. Im shochach levorech ba'alayla, lo yevorech ba'yom. First of all, the language yevorech doesn't make too much sense. The question is not the bracha, the question is the Sefirat. So let me just give you a simple answer to this, because something which is really very important. I don't know what nusach you daven, but the nusach found in Harei Gadol Michachmei Tzorfas is basically Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kitshanu Mitzvoseh V'Tzivanu V'Tzivanu Al Sefirat HaOmer She Hayom Yom Kach V'Kach La'omer. You find this is found. I don't know. I sent it to you. I sent you the Raviyah. I sent you the Raviyah. The Raviyah is before this nusach. This is the nusach found. The Drua points it out in Shulchan Aruch that they're major enough communist halacha, but this is what he writes. He writes the lashon of the bracha is exactly that. She hayom kach v'kach. I'll read the lashon. Elohach yivach al Sefirat HaOmer. She hayom shavua echad v'yom echad. She hayom. The She hayom means to say it's part of the bracha. It's a very important thing to chap, because people make mistakes when they read the Taisvus. The nusach of Rabbi Sena Rishoni Bali HaTaisvus of the bracha is not the way we have it today. What we have today is actually found in Machzor Vitri of Beis Medrash of Rashi, but the Beis Medrash of Bali HaTaisvus that the nusach of the bracha was She hayom. The Raviyah, the Ravan, also seemingly Rabbeinu Tam, the Bali HaTaisvus here in Megillah. She hayom. Now I think the nusach of Eidos Mizrach is simply that. They don't. I forget what they say. Yeah, they don't say la oimer, but they just hayom kach v'kach yamim or something. I forget what they do. Whatever it is, the Bali HaTaisvus is clear that the lashon of the bracha, the sphere, was part of the bracha, and that's the pshat in the Taisvus. Constantly, when Taisvus brings these ideas, shachach birech means because that was the tzur of the mitzvah, midrabanan, that kind of was that the Sefirat HaOmer should be said in the nusach bracha. So this is lashon of Taisvus. Omer Rabbeinu Tam shim shochach levorech ba'alayla. He didn't do the bracha at night, which the bracha meant the Sefira, because the Sefira is the nusach bracha. It's a very important idea. Lo yevorech b'yom. You shouldn't say the bracha means you shouldn't say the Sefira at the end of the day. Kidemasha by Stama, as the Mashmar says, this that's a very important way to read the Taisus without that. It's really prone for mistakes. Because he wanted to Kidemasha by Stama the Mastitna, as seen the stem of this Mishnah. The Mishnah said that mitzvahs, whatever is kosher at night, is only at night, not during the day. So the Zaman Ksira is only at night and not during the day. Therefore, you don't make the bracha, you don't count during the day because it's not Zaman Ksira. It's as simple as that. Oh, there is a Bryce that we just learned that Nix's Vayim is kosher. B'diavad, it's kosher b'diavad. How does Taisa say Mefurish? Taisa learned that the Bryce of Menachos, when it says Takrif, Afilu Kaldu, that Nix's Vayim is kosher b'diavad. What's kosher b'diavad? The Ksira or the Korban? If Taisus means that what Nixah b'diavad is kosher b'diavad means the Korban, what's it got to do with the Sefirat HaOmer? The Sefirat HaOmer is not telling the kashrus to the Korban. The Sefirat HaOmer is telling the Ksira. The Chmuchach b'Taisus, the Taisus understood that Brisa. The Pshat kosher b'diavad means the Ksira, and that's his kasha. L'chayra, it's mashma there that it's kosher b'diavad even the Ksira. So l'chayra, if that's the case, it's not the way it's mashma the Mishnah Menachos in Megillah, it's not kosher at all. B'chulu. The halacha is like it's not kosher b'diavad. What does he say? We clearly see in Taisvus. The Tais understood the sugya menachas. The sugya menachas is not just saying the korban is kosher; it's saying the ksir is kosher b'diavad. It's called like the Rishomi. How can he say that? Where does he see that in the Bavli? Where does he see that in the Bavli? If that's a possibility, then we have to explain the Bavli that we learned just a few minutes ago that it's not that way, because the Bavli writes that what? That according to Rebbe, the Mishnah is not going on the Ksira, it's only going on the Akrava. That's a pell in this Taisvus. You look at the Taisvus again carefully. What does Taisvus say? Again, what does that mean? If you didn't count during the night, don't count during the day. Why? Because you're only supposed to do spheres. Man, Ksira is only by Laila, not by Yom. Because again, the word Levarach doesn't mean to say the bracha, sphere equals the bracha, as the Nusach is. He says, that's very nice. What do we do with the Brisa Menachos, which is mashma? Sheniksa b'yayim is kosher b'diavad. What's kosher b'diavad? The korban is kosher b'diavad. What's it got to do with it? But that's not the Zman Ksira. Of course, they don't know that the Chaytais understood that even in the Bavli, it's called Zman Ksira b'diavad. So he says, Afal Pi, again, we don't pass him that way, because that's the Brisa Menachos versus the Mishnah in Megillah. The Tzorach Iyun, according to this Taisus, how does he see that in the Bavli? In the Bavli, we have no Zeicher for it. Then Taisus continues further. He says weiter, I'm skipping on, V'oid nira da'afil leman demachshik tzir so'emer b'yayim di'evet moidu digabesfira ein levarach b'yayim mishum deshana v'akasav akid d'chsif tmimas. Now he says something else. He says, even if you're going to say that means it's only kosher, it's not called Zman Ksira, but that's a Ksira which is kosher for the Omer. We need Ksira, but even a Ksira Shlebizmana is kosher for the Omer. That's what he means to say. It's not that you're Yotzik Ksira for the Eved, but even that type of Ksira Eved is enough for the Omer. Good, but that's not enough for Sphira. In other words, the idea that even if there's a concept of b'diavad may be applying only as much as ksira b'diavad for the korban, but not ksira b'diavad for the zman, amiyuchad the spirit, which is for the spirit. This is what Taisha says. Unbelievable Taisha. I feel the man that machshik ksira soimer b'yoyim b'diavad. Moida udi gabes spira ein levorach b'yoyim. B'shum deshana levakasav agid chsiv tmimais. What does he want to say? He says, you're right. It could be that it's called Zman Ksira b'diavad. For what? That's only enough community, is only for the korban. But you know what? As much as Sphira is concerned, we need this Zman Sphira lechatchila. Why? Because it says Tmimais. And if we need Tmimis Thursday, it's saying we only want it at night. Well, if you only want it at night, I mean the Zan Sphira, the Man Ksira, which is the kickoff of the Sphira, is only the Man Ksira, which will allow Tmimais equals at night. Here we clearly see in Taisvus that the approach is the Einochanami, the Takib is telling you that there is a Zman. there is a Zman Ksira B'di'evet. And because of that, the korban is kosher. But that's not enough of a Zman Ksira for the din of Sfira. Sfira is also, there's two things you need. You need Ksira for the korban. We also need Zman Ksira for the Zman Sfira. So although there's a pasuk of Takev which says that the Zman Ksira for the korban is even during the day, but that's not the Zman Ksira as much as you need the Sfira. Because for the Sfira, we need a Zman Ksira which will allow a Sfira of Tmimos. Tmimos teaches me that Zman Ksira for Sfira is the optimum Zman Ksira. It's a nice way of saying there's Ksira and there's Zman HaMiyuchad L'Ksira. Zman HaMiyuchad L'Ksira is the night. Zman Ksira, which is not Miyuchad L'Kach, is the whole 24-hour period. And that's what Taisus is saying. He's saying this in Das Ababi. It's very clear. He's saying in Das Ababi, and we have a major problem that this is a possibility. How do we understand the machlekes of the Babi and Rishami as far as Rebbe is concerned? But this is Mefurish in the Taisus. So then he says, weiter. That what? What's Hilchas Atzeres? Hilchas Atzeres, now Taisus was of the view that there are two books. There's Bahag, Baal Halachas Dailus, and there's Piskei Reb Yudoi Goyen. Most Chaykim today think they're all one. Most Bahags we have, they're all put together. Both the Piskei Reb Yudoi Goyen and the Bahag. It's clear from Taisus that he saw them as two separates. What's Hilchas Atzeres? Who wrote Hilchas Atzeres? Hilchas Atzeres, that the psukim that we have in Bahag today, in Hilchas Atzeres, that was called Piskei Reb Yudoi Goyen. So you understand that the Goyenim wrote that Eino Chanami, that what's the halacha, that you cannot count during the day. Period. Ubahag Kosab, then he quotes the Bahag, the Heiche, the Inche Levarach Balayla, if you forgot to break the bracha, equals to count during the night. Yimna Lamacha Blei Bracha, then you do count during the day, but without a bracha. What's his shita? Now we understand this shita. This is the pshat. This shita is not like the previous case. This is the Kudus Machlekes. He understands that Yudoi Goyen believes that you can't count during the day. Period. Why? Because we hold this man ksira. It may be b'di'evet for the korban, but not for the man ksira for the Sefirat HaOmer. The Bahag doesn't think so. He thinks it's man ksira b'di'evet. And since it's only b'di'evet for the Sefirat, it's a time which allows you to count, but not that the tzuras are mitzvah, that's why you don't make a bracha. This is the Kudus HaMachlekes. We have to learn all this to understand one little Taisus. Okay, this is the Kudus HaMachlekes, the way the Taisus presents a Machlekes between Reb Yudoi Goyen and the Bahag. And then I want to summarize this, okay? We had a Yerushalmi. Without the Yerushalmi, nothing would have happened. I'll be saying the honest truth. I don't know if anybody understands this Taisus without learning Yerushalmi. With Yerushalmi, it's explicit and clear that there's a possibility of a difference between Ksira before Tezayin and Ksira Tezayin in the morning. Before Tezayin, you weren't going to say anything. The korban's kosher, that's nice. You're kosher without the mitzvah of Ksira. Tezayin in the morning, it's the mitzvah of Ksira b'di'evet. It's not the optimum time, but it's also good. That's the mitzvah. That's the sheet today. Yerushalmi, and that's how we understand Rabbi and Eino Chanami. That's enough for it to be Teicha Shabbos. Because you're mekayim the mitzvah of Ksira. Cutting it beforehand, you wouldn't be mekayim anything. You're mekayim the mitzvah in a b'di'evet situation. We saw the Bavli, which doesn't entertain that possibility. And we actually thought, because he thought there's no such thing. There's no such thing. Cutting during the day and cutting beforehand are the same thing. Yet here we have a Taisvus, which clearly talks a different language. And this Taisvus clearly understands that Bavli differently and not the way we just said. Because this Taisvus has a totally different approach. This Taisus takes for granted that, at least according to Reb Yudoi Goyen, you're mekayim the mitzvah ksira b'di'evet, but only for the kashrus of the korban. Not that you don't need ksira. You are mekayim the ksira, but b'di'evet for the kashrus of the korban. But that's not the zman, which is miyuchid for zman sfira. Sfira needs the optimum time of ksira, which is tmimas. That's the sheet of Reb Yudoi Goyen. The Bahag, he says, argues. The Bahag says that whoever the Bahag is, if it's not Reb Yudoi Goyen, it becomes Mr. Anonymous, but one of the great Rishonim, which all Gdolei Rishonim deal with. The Bahag is not that way. The Bahag says you do count the next morning, but without a bracha. What's this? The answer is very simple. You can't because it's a Zman Sfira, but you don't make a bracha because it's a Zman Sfira. It's a time of the kiyum of the mitzvah, but the ma'aser mitzvah is not the way it should be done. We weren't misaking a bracha on a kiyum, which doesn't have the ma'aser mitzvah in the proper way. This is what the Bahag Pashkins. That's the Charadasa Bahag. That's what we can understand. He then continues, Aval im shachach laila v'yayim lo yimna oid b'bracha debe'inan tmimais v'leka. Now the question of that is, if that's the case, why does she count it all? If this is true, we'll see this Mitchum tomorrow, then why count it all? If you missed a day and a night, you can't make a bracha. Why would don't do Sfira? It's over. Why do you count without a bracha? We'd have to find out and see whether the Bahag has any sfeikos and therefore is saying this. I can tell you right now, he doesn't. So the question is, what does this mean? Well, how is it possible to say Bishlei when we talk about by Yoim? We can discuss an idea of a Kiyam B'di Eved versus the Kiyam L'Chatchila. What is the din of Tmimus? Is Tmimus also only a din L'Chatchila, not B'di Eved? Is that what he's saying? What is this halach of counting? You forgot a whole day, you continue counting without a bracha. There's no indication, any version of the Bahag, which mentions a suffix of what the getter is. We will read it tomorrow. So this happily has to be in the counting without a bracha me'ikar hadin, which means say there's a kiyum here, but it's not a kiyum l'chatchila. The mashmash is that l'chayr, that tmimus is only l'chatchila, not b'di'evet. Parallel to Sfira Bayoim below Balayla. One has to explain this. This is very far from what is commonly understood in this Bahag. But that's what you should do tonight is crack this Taishes the way it should be doing. And you have the pages, read the Bahag. Read the Bahag, you have these pages I sent you. Read the Bahag, read the way it's brought down, and you'll see very clearly what they think. Okay, we'll continue this tomorrow. Kol Tov, have a great night.